E3 has been going on the past couple of days, and sadly we didn't get any news about Fire Emblem. We still don't know whether the next game is an Echo style remake or a completely new game or even any type of spin-off like Warriors or Heroes. Hopefully we get some news this year, but there were some interesting games showcased that Fire Emblem fans should keep an eye on. Today I wanted to give an introduction to Dark Deity, an indie game made with clear Fire Emblem inspiration, as well as talk about the surprise Advance Wars 1 and 2 remake. For any newer Fire Emblem fans, Advance Wars was a series on the Game Boy Advance and Nintendo DS that was another turn-based tactics game made by Intelligent Systems, who are the main developers of Fire Emblem. The series unfortunately died off. With a remake slated for a December release this year, you may want to give it a shot if you enjoy Fire Emblem's type of tactical gameplay. I will give a longer rundown in the second half of this video. First off, I really want to talk about Dark Deity because it's a much more similar type of game to Fire Emblem itself, made by a small group of first-time developers under the name Sword and Axe and published by Freedom Games. Dark Deity strives to bring strategy role-playing gameplay similar to classics like Fire Emblem or Final Fantasy Tactics. It caught my eye during E3's Monday showcases, and one day later they showed their release date. Turns out the game is out right now on Steam for $20 thanks to a 1-week launch sale. With absolutely no Fire Emblem news from the Nintendo Direct, there could not be a better time for such a game to launch. I've personally already started playing it, and I do want to make a separate video after game to put more hours into it. So far I like what I've seen, but there's so much more to experience. Today I wanted to provide more information and just get news out about this game. It features a linear story with 28 chapters of turn-based combat, all with various type of objectives. With 30 unique characters, each with their own personalities, you'll get to pick and choose your favorites to take into battle. There are 54 types of classes to choose from, and these provide different skills and weapons to utilize. For those that like story and want to get to know characters better, the game also has a bond system with over 400 different conversations. It also features some voice acting mainly present during combat, such as when critical hits land, but during the story they do have the awakening/fate style grunts and expressions when talking. Personally, I love these types of games when they do get voiced, since it helps flesh out the characters even just a little bit more, and obviously I'm not expecting a fully voiced game from a small dev group. For the art style for the game, I think the characters look great, and the during battle inspiration is obviously drawn from the GBA Fire Emblem games. I'm a huge sucker for that type of pixel sprites, so it's a plus in my books. Combat revolves around a similar Fire Emblem hit rate system, and advantages/disadvantages come down to weapon type as well as what armor the enemy is wearing. In terms of equipment, each character has 4 weapons on hand for different situations. You can collect eternal aspects to change a unit's fighting capabilities, which can further the customization of your characters. Each character does come with different skills, and this included active skills which I assume are tied to their class. For example, one of my units could chain an enemy in place, which was really handy for stalling a cavalry archer from sniping my weak mage. One class could heal, and then there were the usual push and reposition abilities. Instead of permadeath, Dark Deity has a system called Grave Wounds. When a unit takes fatal damage, they instead get wounded and they lose some stats instead of just outright dying. I believe if a character is wounded too many times though, then yeah, they will essentially be dead. This isn't a get out of jail for free card like Echo's and Three Houses' ability to turn back time, but it's still an alternative than having to restart an entire map, which is good. Another feature that I think certain players will enjoy is that the game has a built-in customizer for the campaign. Personally, I never messed around with things like randomizers, but this definitely adds replayability if you're looking for some fun or you just want more of a challenge. In terms of systems, so far the game is only on Steam. I personally think this game should be on the Switch, since that's where a ton of the Fire Emblem fans will be, especially after the success of Three Houses. There is controller support, although for my very brief playtime I used a mouse and keyboard. I do think it was a bit awkward with a mouse, but I'll try it with a controller next time. As a heads up, as far as I know, there was not much of a tutorial. There are some tips in the game though. If you've played a Fire Emblem game before, then you should be able to figure things out. However, for example, I was a bit lost on the weapon system, which had that 4 different categories and also involved upgrading. There are definitely improvements that can be made to the game, but for a first time showing, I can't say I'm disappointed so far. You can try out Dark Deity for yourself right away on Steam. However, I will try to report back once I get through more of the game. Switching gears, let's now talk about the Advance Wars remakes. This series was another one of my favorites, and I first learned about Fire Emblem because a GameStop employee suggested it after I had gotten into Advance Wars. Regarding the remake, it's called Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp. It releases December 3rd, 2021. and on the Nintendo Switch for $60. This is a combination of the first two games, Advance Wars and Advance Wars 2 Black Hole Rising. It undergoes a graphical overhaul, but ultimately looks like it still brings the same Advance Wars goodness. Apparently the remake is being handled by WayForward, but with some help from Intelligent Systems and Nintendo. It is set to support online play with 4 players, and that's great considering how long this series has been away. For some history, the first Advance Wars came out 20 years ago in 2001. It actually is a part of the Wars series of games dating back to 1988, starting with the Famicom Wars, which I think is still the Japanese name for Advance Wars. Regardless, this particular series of games included 4 titles. This remake will include the first 2 from the Game Boy Advance era, but there was also Advance Wars Dual Strike, which was the 3rd continuation of the same cast of characters, and it brought it to the Nintendo DS. The 4th and final game was Days of Ruin, which took a completely different turn with a new story and new characters. I had no idea until years later, but the Battalion Wars series on GameCube and the Wii are also spin-offs of Advance Wars. It makes sense, but Battalion Wars was a real-time strategy game and it was freaking awesome. I do wonder just how many people actually played it though, because I assume it's probably not that many people. After Advance Wars Days of Ruin, the series never came back unfortunately. Fire Emblem almost met a similar fate, but Awakening ultimately saved the franchise, and well, I wouldn't be here making this video right now if that didn't happen. With Advance Wars getting a reboot 13 years later, this remake is definitely an exciting announcement. If you've never played Advance Wars, I recommend watching the half-an-hour long demo for this remake on the Nintendo channel. They go into a lot of the basics and it's a little look into how the game actually plays. For now though, let's go over some of the game mechanics. Advance Wars is just like Fire Emblem as a turn-based strategy game taking place on a grid system. There is a player phase and then an enemy phase, and your goal is to take down the enemy HQ by using land, sea, and air units. Units all come with 10 HP, and in Advance Wars, health represents the unit's attack power. If a unit gets damaged, they deal less damage, which means attacking first gives you major advantages. Spread throughout the map are structures which you need to capture for strategic purposes. Every turn you get war funds based on the number of buildings you own, and you use those funds to deploy more units. The same goes for the enemy, so taking over their buildings not only give you better tactical positioning, but you cut off their supply of money. Now, unlike Fire Emblem where each individual unit is a unique character, Advance Wars puts characters in the role of the commanding officer or the CO. There are 4 major factions in the game: Orange Star, Blue Moon, Green Earth, and Yellow Comet, with Black Hole being the bad guy faction. Each commander comes with different innate bonuses and weaknesses, which changes their general playstyle. For example, Eagle from the Green Earth excels in aerial combat, so his air units are stronger, but his naval units are weaker. Each commander also has a CO power, which is a gauge that charges during battle, and you can use it to unleash a special ability. Andy repairs his units, and since health is tied to combat power directly in this game, it can be a super clutch ability. Olaf from Blue Moon makes it snow on the battlefield, which ties into his passive that lets his own units move through snow unhindered. The different commanders provide a variety of ways to play, and I guess it's sort of like Civilization in that aspect. For the units that do take to the field, you have a lot of fun options to choose from. There's infantry, tanks, recon vehicles, fighter jets, bombers, battleships, and more. These would be like different classes. Like Fire Emblem, there are general counters such as anti-air machine guns being able to wreck airplanes. There are different attack ranges and target availability, like the fighter jet has total air-to-air superiority, but it actually cannot attack ground units, whereas the battle helicopter is more well-rounded but can attack more types of foes. While Fire Emblem has a general policy of not letting your units die, Advance Wars does require you to make sacrifices. Again, units with low HP are much less effective, and while you can repair them, it may be better to just let them tank a hit for someone else. In place of weapon durability mechanics, Advance Wars does have things like fewer requirements for air and sea units. They must refuel or else you're going to lose them. For common mechanics, Advance Wars does not have a hit chance system. The numbered percent you see in gameplay is how much damage you're dealing roughly, with 100% being a full one-shot KO. There is a luck mechanic, and some commanders actually can improve their luck for more damage, although I would say this is less volatile than Fire Emblem's critical hits. Advance Wars does utilize a similar terrain bonus to Fire Emblem, so fighting in open plains means you'll take full damage, while hiding in the woods grants some protection at the cost of movement. There are certainly many similarities, and I would say gameplay wise, if you enjoy Fire Emblem, I would give Advance Wars a shot. There are no RPG level up mechanics, and I wouldn't exactly say story is a huge factor, so if you want more of that kind of character driven experience, then Dark Deity is a much closer comparison. As a game, Advance Wars has a typical campaign style mission to mission progression. It also has a custom map editor, and this was a fun way to have more ways to play. Plus, the game does support up to 4 factions for big team battles. I'm pretty sure you could do 2v2 or 1v3s, and if the online support for the remake has some kind of showcase for custom maps from anyone, then I think the game will have much more replayability for sure. If you couldn't tell, I'm so dang happy Advance Wars is being brought back. I really hope the reboot has some kind of success, or at the very least, be a nice nostalgia trip. I was bummed with the lack of Fire Emblem news, but Dark Deity was a great surprise, and I'll be focusing on it for the next week at least. Let me know your thoughts on either of these games. Otherwise, you can comment down your favorite game from E3 in general. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.